Hey guys, what is up? This is DJ Cade back once again with more tournament coverage. This time it's going to be my local Mirror Twilight Cup. So for the last tournament that I had on the Pogo Coliseum Discord, I really learned a lot of things, especially about my lineups and the other things that people could bring in that would be strong against me. And as you can see from the lineup I have here, I actually have made a change from my last video, which was that I dropped the Tentacruel and I added the Clefable, because for me the Clefable wasn't really a high investment Pokemon. It was already at 1489, it already had Meteor Mash, and all I had to do was give it the Charm to make it complete. And I replaced Tentacruel with Clefable because Tentacruel did not have Acid Spray, he only had Sludge Wave, so I couldn't really bring him in as an Acid Sprayer, and I was lacking that essential Sableye coverage. And if there was anything that I learned that from my online tournament, is that Sableye needs to have some kind of counter. You need to consider something to fight against that Sableye, and Charm users are going to be the best thing to use against a Sableye, so I made that change to my team, and my local players are getting better and better and better. And the first one we're going to be going up against is Team Sprite. And Team Sprite has been improving constantly. She was actually the first person that I battled against in the Kingdom Cup, and she actually beat me in the first round of the Kingdom Cup. So can we settle the score? Can we win against Team Sprite in this first round? Well, first of all, I want to see what I bring in for this first match. And I decided to bring in Qwilfish as a lead with Tyranitar and Clefable because I really wanted to try out Clefable, and I figured with this kind of team comp, she did have quite a few poison types on this team, so this was actually kind of a risky pick for me. I thought maybe she would bring in the Alolan Muck actually, and I thought maybe she would bring in the Azumarill, so I thought maybe Clefable could be good there. But overall, it was a really risky pick, and let's see how this goes for us in this first game. And I called it. I knew the Alolan Muck was going to come in, but my Qwilfish is actually doing really good, getting him down to almost halfway. I decided to go with the Acid Spray because even if she decides not to block it, I'm going to get the debuff. And so the Sludge Wave is going to come in. I figured I could resist whatever was coming in against me, but not shielding was not the correct call. So my Qwilfish goes down, and I'm able to clean up with my Tyranitar. So now we're still sitting fairly evenly. We're waiting for her to come in, and she sends in the Golbat, which I gotta say, Team Sprite, that was a little bit of a mistake because Golbat is going to be at least 2 times weak to those rock type moves, if not 4 times weak. So I'm able to farm up a lot of energy. I actually probably shouldn't have even thrown the Stone Edge, but I throw the Stone Edge, seeing if we can get that Golbat out of there, and we do. She's got the Azumarill left, which is another Pokemon that I called that was going to be on her team. Thankfully, she just... for us, she just, sent the Pokemon in the wrong order, unfortunately, but we do have that Clefable left, and we're going to be able to chunk down this Azumarill by a lot, so it was a good thing that we brought in this Clefable. We have a shield left to block that Play Rough, and we're just going to go with straight Charms until we get to that Meteor Mash, and that's going to be game 1. So for this next match, I figure we're doing pretty good with that Clefable being in there, so I wanted to keep it in there in case she brought that Azumarill in there again. And I decided to change it up a little bit because, as some kind of dummy, I just happened to notice now that there's so many things on her team that are weak to a Confusion user. Venusaur is going to be a great matchup for Venomoth. Toxicroak is going to be a great matchup for Venomoth. So is Golbat and her Venomoth. So I decided to swap out Tyranitar for the Venomoth. Let's see how this works out for us. Alright, so Qwilfish comes in, and the Alolan Muck comes in, and we already know how this plays out, so can we play this match a little bit better this time? We're going to overcharge a little bit, And knowing that we can take a lot of damage from the Sludge Wave, we do decide to shield that time, but we get out there with some banked energy. We've got a lot of banked energy from our encounter there, and she decides to switch into the Azumarill, which is probably one of the few things on her team that is not going to take super effective damage against those confusions. And as you can see, Silver Wind is pretty quick. We're able to get to another one before we have to face a charge move from that Azumarill. Excuse me. And she's going to send in the Play Rough. We decide we're not going to shield that because we're thinking we can resist that if it's going to be the Play Rough. And we get the second shield, which is great. So now that Azumarill is really low on health. Either of these two Pokemon we have are going to be great counters to this Azumarill. We're going to use this one last shield because at this point we know that she has none, and we can commit that last shield without it costing us too much at this point. She sends the Muck back in, and I decide to throw the Acid Spray for whatever's coming in that's not going to do a lot of damage, but it's going to allow the Water Gun to do a ton of damage, and we've got another Acid Spray saved up for whatever comes in next, and now this is going to allow us to get her Toxicroak much further down. We actually survive long enough to do another Acid Spray, so with 2 defense debuffs, all we have to do is survive this. We're hoping it's not a Sludge Bomb. It wasn't a Sludge Bomb, and I didn't even blink there. All I did was blink, and I completely missed Clefable finishing off Toxicroak at the end there with that charm with 2 defense debuffs. It just erased that Toxicroak. So GG's go to Team Sprite, but I won that first game, so I'm feeling pretty good. Let's go right into this next match. Our next match is against Mabuka Jr., and as you can see from his team, he's got a fairly similar team to mine. The only exception being that he does not have the Clefable and instead has the Alolan Marowak. So for this match, I decide to go with the old faithful team here. We've got Qwilfish, Tyranitar, and Venomoth. Let's go into battle. Alright, so Qwilfish comes out and Azumarill comes out. This is a positive matchup for us. We know that, so we're just going to build up to an Acid Spray here. Hit him with it right away. We can get that defense debuff. And so he decides, did he shield there? Oh, let me see. I decide not to shield the Play Rough, but we did get one of his shields, and even though we took that Play Rough, it didn't do that much damage. We still have quite a bit of health left, but we got his other shield, so we got both shields out of the way right away, and that probably wasn't the best move from Mabuka Jr. because those Acid Sprays, just in terms of their pure damage, really don't do a whole lot. You don't need to shield the first Acid Spray, but that third one is going to come in now with those debuffs, and Azumarill, he can just come in with his Qwilfish, and I will respond with the Venomoth and just tear through this Qwilfish, and it kind of looks like he's using some similar teams to what I've been using in the past. So with the defense debuff, I'm going to take a lot of damage from those water guns, but we do survive long enough to get the Silver Wind, and we bring them down a little bit. We've got Tyranitar left as our last Pokemon, and those Smackdowns are going to do enough damage to that Venomoth as a bug type to finish him off. We've got a shield left, and that's game 1. So for the second match, no change in strategy whatsoever. I figure this team is really, really working for us, and we're going to see how it works for us in this next game. Alright, so once again, Qwilfish comes in as the lead, and Muck comes in, and I know this is a good matchup if I can shield those Sludge Waves, because those are still going to do quite a bit of damage to Qwilfish, but we managed to hit the Acid Spray, so that's going to put us at an advantage right away. And part of the reason I like this whole strategy is because I can get those Acid Sprays out there right away early on in the match and really put their lead Pokemon, or whatever they choose to switch into, at a big disadvantage right away. And as you can see, all we did was match Muck on shields, and we managed to take him out. But that Venomoth, especially with my defense debuff, is just going to tear through that Qwilfish and end him. He's going to switch into that Toxicroak and finish off my Tyranitar. And now I can just send the Venomoth back in, and I'm not even going to wait for a charge move because he's going to finish off Toxicroak with the fast move. And all it's come down to here is the two Venomoths against each other. He does manage to get in a Silver Wind, and he does take that first game, and that was an extremely close first game. That was just unbelievably close. But can we take the next game? Can we turn this around in our favor? So for this last game, I wanted to keep that Venomoth in there because he still has a lot of Pokemon on his team that are going to be weak to those confusions, but I thought I could send in my own Toxicroak here, knowing that he does like that Azumarill and that he does like that Tyranitar, so maybe we can catch either one of those with the Toxicroak. Maybe we can even put in some damage against the Alolan Muck. So let's see what happens with this. Alright, so I start with the Azumarill, and there's the Quillfish. We know this isn't really a good matchup. We're going to stay in it for a little bit to gain some energy. We're going to go for the Ice Beam, see if we can bait one of those shields. And we do get one of the shields. Unfortunately, Quillfish is going to hit us with what is probably an Acid Spray, but I know better than to waste a shield on that first Acid Spray. We're going to send in the Ice Beam, thinking that, you know, as a Poison type, he's going to resist the Play Rough, and I figured that the Ice Beam would be a faster option in this case. We're not going to shield this next Acid Spray either, but we're going to be able to get to one more Ice Beam here. We've managed to keep both of our shields intact. We take both of his shields out, so I figured that's still a win for us. We have the Venomoth in there, and we can come in with a single fast move and finish him off. And as far as this Venomoth is concerned, we've already done one Confusion, and with no shields, we're going to get to a charge move faster than he can. So we're going to take out that Venomoth before he can even do anything with it. And we take each other down at the same time. How about that? And because I had one Pokemon left, I won that best 2 out of 3. And I managed to stay 2-0 for the first 2 games of this tournament. And GG's go to Mabuka Jr. for some incredibly well-played matches. He was a very tough opponent, and, you know, I barely eked out that victory at the end. So, I mean, that whole thing could have gone either way. Great matches once again. Alright, so at this point I'm feeling pretty good. The changes I've made to my team have definitely made an improvement. I feel like I have a much better chance to place really highly in this tournament. So how will we do? How will this tournament end? We'll find out in the next 2 matches, which will be in the next video, and which will finally complete my coverage of all of my Mirror Cup tournaments. Tune in for the finale in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. I love you all. Peace.